All right. Hi to everyone watching this. We are playing a one-shot of Ross Rifles, which is a game by Daniel Kwan about the Canadian Expeditionary Force in World War One. And so this game actually, I didn't know this when I scheduled this session, but it actually launched on Kickstarter today. They've hit their goal already. So if you're watching this within the next like month or so, I forget exactly how long Kickstarter goes, and you like what you hear, you can go back it and get a copy of the game for yourself. So we're going to go around and introduce all of ourselves and the characters that are going to be played in today's game. So I am the MC for this game, Stentor Danielson, they, them pronouns. And yeah, I don't have a character to introduce. So let's just go in the order that we've got everybody in the character keeper. So Stephen, introduce yourself and your character, Charles.
Hi, I'm Stephen Desjardins, he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Charles Winters, who also uses he, him pronouns. It's the Scrounger playbook. He is a blue blood from America. He was on break from college when the war broke out, and he signed up on impulse. And since then, he's had a harsh lesson in what war is really like. He thought it would be sort of a lark, and he's realized that it's dirty and brutal and violent. And he's actually coping pretty well. He's fairly competent, but his letters home, he's like, oh yeah, I'm nowhere near the front. I'm helping out I'm helping the colonel with logistics. I'm doing a lot of paperwork. He's been keeping the reality of war from his family and his loved ones. So he's got a stained, dirty uniform. He's athletic. He played football. He played football in college, but he's lost a lot of weight since he entered the army. He's got a perpetual half-starved look to him. The one personal item that he brought with him is a locket with a photograph of his fiancee, Louise. And he's fallen behind in his correspondence to her, and it's been a while since she wrote to him. He's not really sure what's going on, but he doesn't want to ask either, because then he might find out. So he's just sort of in perpetual suspense on that point. And his special Scrounger moves, he can dig in to create improvised cover to help protect the section from the enemy, or he can sabotage enemy defenses.
Okay, sounds good. Next on my list is Christina.
Great. So yeah, I'm Christina. I'm pretty new to Powered by the Apocalypse. This is my first time playing, so if I apologize in advance for anyone who's watching this and for those who are playing with me. I'm playing, let's see, what's my character's name? Roy Pogorzelski, who uses he, him pronouns out of the replacement playbook. Roy is your classic fresh-faced recruit. I'm thinking Roy is a member of one of Canada's First Nations, so maybe the Métis Nation. I'm not sure if the Métis were recognized in World War One, so I'll just take that liberty with this session. And let's see, his uniform is stained with just mud, and it's stains you would expect from the environment, but also like preventable stains. Like, if he eats a jelly donut, it's going to get on his uniform and he's not going to be able to clean it. I don't know if jelly donuts exist in the trenches, but that's like to give Roy a sort of like fuck up kind of air about him. let's see. My personal item is a white handkerchief embroidered with blue flowers from my girlfriend Marianne. We got together right before I set out to the front. I'm setting out to the front because I want to prove to myself that I can, go on adventure, and I am just seeking out the high life for myself on the Western Front. So I believe, should I answer those question prompts now, the bonds, or is this introduction?
No, not the bonds.
Okay.
So just the ones under questions.
Oh,
So
okay. That's on another. Okay, here we go. So this is me. Scrounger replacement. And okay. So the private I am replacing was killed in action by a landmine, or the World War One equivalent of one. Um, I was randomly assigned to this section, and I believe I touched on this already. I joined the war effort because I am seeking adventure, but I have very little real idea about what the war is going to be for me.
okay. Sounds good. And next we have Maria.
Hello, I am Maria. I use she, her pronouns, and I will be playing Roland's son, Agustin, our scout. And I think that he is the son of Chinese Filipino immigrants. His dad is or was maybe a sailor on a merchant ship, but it's kind of been a while since they last heard from him, so they're not really sure if he's alive. But before his dad left, that kind of leads into his personal item, where he has a butterfly knife, which is like a little flippy pocket knife that he plays with. So sorry, that was absolutely not in order.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
So Roland is, I think he's sort of built like a gymnast, kind of short but kind of athletic. His uniform is as well kept as it can be in the trenches. It will get dirty and muddy, but then he will try and find some way to keep it clean, because he doesn't want caked on mud to interfere with his movement, because he is our scout. And I think that he's always running around trying to find things out and shoot people from a distance. Let's see. So my questions are, you've taken many lives for king and country. What toll has this taken on you? And I think Roland's probably been at the front for a while now. And I think that every time he's had to kill someone, it's it bothered him a lot at first, but now it's just starting to become okay, I did my job. And then maybe he still feels like he's gonna suffer for it later, but at that moment doesn't mean as much to him as it used to be. So he's a little worried about that, I think. His rifle has been marked, maybe in an attempt to keep track of how much he's been doing. He's marked it with each life he's taken, at least as much as he can remember. So it's got little scratches on the barrel. And I think I am supposed to, your time conducting reconnaissance has made cleanly aware of the dangers no man's land has to offer, establish one truth about the dangers of no man's land. And I think that is that death is sudden and unexpected, and it might seem really calm, but out of nowhere, something terrible can happen. You'll be quiet, and then there's a shot and someone's dead, or you'll be quiet and then there's a shout and something bad has happened. So I think that Roland is at that point between somewhere on the sliding scale of this is really new and doesn't mean anything anymore. He feels like he's on that downward slope to where it doesn't mean anything anymore. I think that is Roland.
Okay, and Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Eric Martin, who also uses he, him pronouns. So Eric he's in his late 20s, and he's he really likes sketching, and has been in the war for a couple of years now. He wears an ill-fitting uniform. He's too small to really fit into it properly, and he has some scars from past past action. He keeps a sketch of his his home tree that his father made. They kind of would have a contest where they would sketch things and see who could make the better sketch. And this was the last sketch that his father made before he left of the tree in front of their house. So let's see. So he's, yeah, okay. So I'm kind of getting lost. So my special moves are Dugout, where I can look for materials to produce a work of art. Produce a work of art, which is making one, and then a Moment of Inspiration, which is I can use my creative mind to see the battlefield in a new way. I think that's mostly it. I think I went way too fast, but
okay. So what kind of art do you do then?
Yeah, so charcoal sketches, just kind of
okay.
on whatever paper you can find, and very rough, and it's kind of wants to make documents of whatever he sees on the battlefield.
Okay. Cool. All right. So you each have 3 bonds to do. So we're going to go around. We'll go through the order and have you each do one of them. Then we'll go through again. Then we'll go through again. And to get these bonds sort of worked out. So, and you don't have to do them in the order that they're listed there. You can, pick whichever bond you want to do first. So start back with Stephen. Read the text of one of your bonds, and if you have an idea of who it should apply to, you can suggest it, or if somebody wants to volunteer to be that connection, they can.
All right. Well, blank is our battalion quartermaster. They sometimes manage to get me special supplies because blank. I'm going to suggest that Roy is our quartermaster, and he sometimes gets me special supplies because he doesn't know any better.
I like that.
You like that? Okay. Cool. All right. Well, what's Roy's first bond that you want to establish?
Let's see. So I think the first thing that I want to establish is the person who has, the question is, or blank has seen me make a critical error and I have to work extra hard to prove myself to them. So I think I'm actually going to go back to Charles as the person who saw me make the critical error, and maybe that's possibly why I'm like trying to be nice by giving him shit from the battalion room supply thing.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what the error was?
All right. I think it's like an accumulation of small errors. It's just I can't get the most basic things right as a recruit. I can't I can't scrounge with my bunk or,
All right. How about a suggestion? You were lighting a cigarette and you were exposed, so that the enemy could have seen your light, and I pulled you down.
That sounds fine.
Okay. And give us Roland's first bond.
All right, let's go to who do I often butt heads with when strategizing? I don't know if anyone has any ideas.
I mean, I feel like I'm probably the one who's most likely to have strong opinions. So.
All right. So I'll make that Charles.
And how do you two feel about that? Like, is this like one of those like friendly, like always bouncing off each other things, or do you kind of think, man, that guy's such an idiot?
I guess what I was going to say, what do we butt heads about? Is it about what our goals are, or? how we're doing it.
I mean, I think you're too much of a daredevil. You take too many risks.
I see. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see
I
that.
mean, I think we respect each other. We just have different risk tolerances.
Yeah. I think my character is like, we need to move forward or do this thing at night, so we also get information, and probably doesn't particularly care about how dangerous it is.
Okay. And Jeremiah.
I think so. Someone has done something to inspire me. I see them as my muse. I feel like maybe Roland, just the fact that Roland is always so well kept, whereas the rest of us are all kind of always dirty, and it just seems like I kind of aspire to have that same level of cleanliness, even though I never really do.
Sure, that
Okay.
works. I think it's all relative levels of well keptness, right? Because I don't know.
Yeah. As well kept as you can be.
You're an artist. You appreciate the aesthetic of keeping your uniform relatively clean in these trenches. Yeah. Okay. So then we're back around. What is Charles's second bond?
Well, I've seen Martin being wasteful with our supplies, and if I see it again, I'm going to have to bring it up to the lieutenant.
And Martin, what were you wasting and why?
I think maybe I was trying to set up some kind of like scene to sketch, and I was just kind of grabbing whatever I could find to make it look aesthetically pleasing, and I was pulling stuff out that shouldn't be out there, and yeah.
Okay. You're setting up a still life in the trenches.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. And what is Roy's second bond?
I think Roy's second bond is to Roland. And Roland is teaching me how to press my uniform so I can be a more effective and presentable member of the section.
I like this. I like how Roland is suddenly turning out to be the fashionista.
Right. We got this filthy crew of guys in the trenches, and they're all just like basking in the shining light of Roland's.
And I don't know how clean Roland's things can get. Like, imagine he does some like slithering in the mud too.
Yeah, so when I was describing my character, I was like, well, there's going to be some amount of grime in the trenches, but I have like extra grime, so I think you're teaching me how to keep that extra bit off.
Okay. Okay. I guess Roland's second bond is during the last trench raid I saved blank. They now trust me with their life. Oh, Eric Martin, did I save your life? Maybe.
I guess so. Yeah.
Were you like doing something not particularly smart in the like name of aesthetic?
Probably. Maybe I was like trying to get a peek out over the trenches to get a view, which is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Started getting shot at, and you dragged me back down.
All right.
All right. So I think this one logically follows that I think Charles does not believe that my art has a place on the front lines, and I'm determined to prove that my creativity has value to the war effort.
Yeah, it's like, what is the point of art anyway? Life is just, grim. and I guess let's see. And Roland has helped me with my projects in the past. It's like any time I need to go out and do a risky sabotage job, that Roland is always the one who volunteers and comes and covers my back. I mean, I think I would be dead half a dozen times over if it weren't for him.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, and how about Roy's last bond there?
I think Roy's last bond is to Martin. I think so. Martin gave me a hand when I first joined the section. It was my first just really bad day during a rainstorm in the trenches. I didn't know how to like set up my, what do people sleep on in trenches? I'm going to say a hammock, but set up my sleeping area. It was like waterlogged and I didn't know what to do, and Martin helped me out with that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably there weren't official hammocks, but soldiers rigged them up.
Yeah. Like he kept me from sleeping in the mud, basically.
Sounds good. And Roland's last.
Yeah, I think that means Roy and I are the only survivors of an enemy raid. We maybe we survived because Roy did something unexpected that only someone knew that a trench would have done.
Okay, I don't know a lot about trench warfare, but I can see it being a total accident.
Yeah.
Like maybe you just fell behind the others.
Yeah, or maybe we just
and Roland stayed behind to help you catch up.
something like that, or maybe one of us tripped and accidentally dragged the other one down. It was a complete fluke that we weren't hit by
You just happened to fall into this crater just as like the enemy fire strafed the whole rest of the group.
Maybe.
Or something.
Sure, do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I think Roy and I knew each other from home, and that's why I went and helped out Roy on that first day that you showed up. We'd been friends before, and that you helped me obtain materials for my art because of that. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
So where is home that you know each other from?
I don't know many Canadian places.
If you throw some ideas of the kind of place you're thinking of, I can maybe try to give you a suggestion of where exactly that might be.
Maybe a tiny village in the Northern Shield, Canada.
Yeah, someplace small with not many people who live there.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That works.
I think there's a place in Canada called Yellow Hat. We can just say Yellow Hat.
Yellow Hat. All right. Okay, so we've got some bonds. We've got some interesting characters here. So why don't we take a 5-minute break? So I've got 3 after the hour on my clock. So if we come back at 8 after, and we'll dive into playing. Sound good? All right. All right. So Christina, are you there? I know you don't have
Yeah,
your.
here.
Okay, you're good. All right. Just had to check in because you don't have the webcam there. All right. So before we get in, I want to real quick review lines and veils that we've got. We've got a line on sexual violence, veils on consensual sex and suicide. So we'll treat those subjects appropriately. And one more thing that I want to explicitly ask about, because it often gets listed on lines and veils, and I didn't see anybody put it on here, but could come up, is how do people feel about violence or harm to animals? Is that all right? Or does anybody want to put a line or veil on that? Feel free to add it if you want, and I will double check that if and when I decide to introduce that element. I'm not saying I will, but just because that's one that often comes up, I wanted to call it out there. All right. So as we begin, your section has just had to beat a hasty and somewhat disorganized retreat. There was a section of trench that has just been lost. The Germans have just taken it over, and you all had to get out of there. And you've just reached a safe trench, and you are catching your breath. Excuse me. You're catching your breath, and you see, through all the people milling about, trying to get organized in this new trench that you've retreated to. You see a familiar figure coming towards you. He is a little on the short side, curly, dark hair, and his name is, call him Tim Cohen, and he is the aide to your commander, who is named, and I'm putting all these names next to the lines and veils so that we can refer back to them. So he is the aide to Lieutenant McConnell, who is your commanding officer. And so Private Cohen comes up and sort of sees you there. He's like, there you guys are. Oh, Lieutenant McConnell wants to see you. Oh, he is pissed. He is pissed. He is going to want an explanation for what just happened here. So he told me to come look for you. He wants you to meet him in his office in 5 minutes. He is finishing up taking stock of where we are here, and he needs an explanation of what just happened here. Private Cohen just then kind of rushes off to take care of some other business. But he has made clear that your section is going to be bearing the brunt of the lieutenant's. I'm always bad at spelling this word. I probably misspelled it there on the sheet. But you're going to be bearing the brunt of your commander's blame for losing the section of trench that just got recaptured by the Germans. But you do have a few minutes to try to get your story straight about what happened.
What does he expect us to do? I mean, they push us back, we push them back. That's how this entire war has gone. We haven't moved more than 50 feet in the last 3 months. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I mean, we shot at them. That's...
Yeah. We shot at them, they shot at us.
They shot at us slightly harder than we shot at them.
We had to get back down, or else it would have gone badly.
I mean, look at all these new recruits we've got, and I sort of glance at Roy. It's like they don't have steel in their spine yet. They don't hold when we need them to hold. That's all there is to it.
Hey, I know that I might not have steel in my spine yet, but this one was non-me, guys.
Didn't say
I
it
give her a little
was.
pat on the shoulder.
Didn't say it was. I mean, you're breaking in fine. You're breaking in fine. It's just when the Germans push us, we didn't hold. That's all there is to it.
Maybe if we had, I don't know, maybe some support from the other units of our section who I don't see them standing there either. Someone else broke and then we broke too. We're not idiots entirely.
Is Lieutenant Commander or Lieutenant McConnell really going to buy the "we're not idiots" explanation when we lost?
Depends on who he's looking at when we explain this. Some of us, then Roland will look over at whatever jam is on. Is it Roy who had the jelly donut?
Yeah.
I'd just be like, maybe we should clean that up before we talk to him.
Do you have something?
I don't know. I don't know. I might think it's blood. He might make
Maybe
it
a better
look good.
excuse.
I mean, I don't know you guys. I don't know about you guys, but like, I guess like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna send a new able-bodied recruit away? If you guys need someone to blame this on, I'm like, I mean, crap. I get blamed for everything around here, but you know, it's fine. I'll do it.
Okay, Roy, you're new here, so I'm going to explain something to you. The punishment for screwing up is not being sent away. That's the reward. The punishment is KP and the treen duty, and you do not want to get assigned to either of those.
So, to be honest, the treen duty in the trenches is pretty much just shoving crap slightly farther away from our living spaces.
Yeah, but there is a difference between being near the crap and being in the crap.
And the treen duty is all that stands between us and that.
I pat Roy on the shoulder and say, "We thank you in advance for your service."
All in a day's work, guys.
Everyone gets the. I pat Roy as well and say everyone gets the chance for the train duty at some point. We've all done it.
Just go easy on whatever you eat tonight, so my duty isn't bad tomorrow.
Well, it's been 4 minutes. We should probably get over there.
All right, so you're headed over to the lieutenant's office. So, you know, his office is, you know, just another dugout section in the side of the trench, with slightly upgraded furniture. He's got a table and a few chairs and, you know, a tiny portable writing desk in there with some files sitting on it. It's not, you know, it's not that much different from the spaces that you live in, though the floor seems to be noticeably less muddy here. And he picked out the best drained dugout to use as his office, and there's kind of a, you know, like a curtain hanging across it that you go through, and you arrive there, and you know it's you know you have essentially exactly 5 minutes from when you were summoned, the lieutenant walks in. And so Lieutenant McConnell is, we're going to say he's an older man. He's a veteran of Canada's previous involvement in British wars in Africa, but did not manage to rise very far up the ranks during that time. And he's kind of making up for the fact that he is looking at ending his lifelong military career, assuming he survives the war. He's probably going to retire after this. And, you know, retiring still at the rank of lieutenant is not, you know, the most glorious career to brag about. So he is kind of making up for it by being a real hard ass to everyone. Because, you know, if he's yelling at you for being incompetent, then, you know, he'd rather be the one calling other people incompetent than having his superior say it to him, basically. So he walks in and takes his helmet off, and he's standing there with his like hands on his hips, and kind of glares at all of you assembled there by him. And he says, all right, I want an explanation for what happened out there. Your section was on watch at the time that everything fell apart, and I need to know why we don't have control of that trench anymore. It took us a month to make that advance, and we lost a lot of good soldiers in that, and now one day it's gone. So tell me what happened out there.
And I salute and report. Sir, lack of artillery support enabled the Germans to advance in overwhelming numbers, rendering our tactical situation untenable.
Lack of artillery support. So you're suggesting this was a tactical error at a higher level?
Sir, the men in our section, they did the best they could. These new recruits, they've got steel in their spines, sir.
And at the mention of new recruits, he turns his gaze over to Roy and says, so the new recruits have steel in their spine. Is that right, Private Pogorzelski? If that's the case, why did we lose that trench?
You know, our friend, where's the character keeper? I'm sorry. Steven's character's name is Charles. You know, Charles was saying how we were doing things to the best of our ability, sir. Well, I'll be honest with you, the steel in my spine is probably making me tell the truth. I don't have a lot of ability, but I tried my best. You know, I was trying to hold the trench, but then I just tripped over my own 2 feet. And I wasn't holding the trench, I was holding the ground.
And he rolls his eyes and like slams his helmet down on the table, and he says, you don't win a war by trying your best.
I will not try my best then, sir.
And he rolls his eyes again because you clearly missed his point, and turns to Roland and Eric and says, Private St. Augustine, Private Martin, what's your story?
Overwhelming firepower, sir. We did our best, which apparently we're not supposed to do. But there's only so many of us, and much more of them. At least now we live to fight another day.
When there's that much fire coming in, unfortunately there's not much we can do, sir, besides try to get back.
And he kind of puts his head in his hand and kind of shakes it. And just as he looks about ready to yell at you again, Private Cohen peeks in and, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. He said, what is it? and Tim hands him a sheet of paper that looks like it's a roster of your unit, and there's like check marks and X's next to a whole bunch of the names. And he says, "Sir, in the unit right now, everyone is accounted for except for Private Janopoulos. He's the only one that we haven't been able to identify." And Lieutenant McConnell kind of looks at the list for a bit, and you kind of recognize that the checks and X's mark, who survived and who's confirmed dead. And Lieutenant McConnell kind of shakes his head, and he's like, "Damn, Janopoulos, he was one of the good ones. Oh, well, hopefully he'll turn up, or we'll figure that out. Thank you, Private Cohen." And he puts the list in one of his files, and then he turns back to the four of you, and he says, "All right, well, it's dinner time, and there are a lot of potatoes that need to be peeled. See to it." And he stalks out of his office.
You heard the lieutenant. Roy. See to the potatoes.
All right, I'll go do that. Better than latrines.
Shouldn't we all help with the potatoes? I mean, it wasn't just Roy's fault.
We should all help with the potatoes. The sooner we get done with the potatoes, the sooner we can get back to waiting.
How long have you people even been in this army? Volunteer.
Long enough.
Fine. Never let it be said I didn't do my part.
We can't just leave Roy out by himself to do the potatoes. He is one of us.
What is even the point of having new recruits if you don't make them do all the work? How are they going to learn?
They learn later when they're fighting. I mean,
learning involves teaching. If they need to learn, then we need to teach.
You guys can start with the potatoes then and teach me about them.
You can stab the potatoes.
All right. We're going to pretend that these potatoes are German soldiers, and we are going to demonstrate the proper technique for peeling a German soldier. This is the most vital lesson you will learn in all the years you serve in this army.
So where are the potatoes that we need to get?
Yeah, you've been in this trench before, so you know where the kitchen area is located. A little farther down along it. Yeah, so it seems like from everything you can gather here that the Germans took that trench that you just had to abandon, but they didn't immediately make any moves to press their advantage and attack the trench you're currently in. So some of the scouts have reported it looks like they're pausing to bring up their heavy artillery from farther back where they had been stationed before and stuff. So you've got a little bit of downtime. You don't expect to be attacked or ordered out onto the battlefield immediately. So what are you up to aside from peeling potatoes while you've got a little break from battle?
Right. Well, I'm asking around the unit, seeing if anybody saw what happened to Janowski, or whatever the name was.
Janopoulos, yeah.
Janopoulos.
Yeah. Okay, so it's our first roll of the game. So when you ask around the trenches for information regarding your situation, roll with wit. So go ahead and Roll those dice there.
That would be with my +1 bonus, it's a 3.
It's a 3. All right, a big 3. Okay, so on a 6-, your snooping gets the section in hot water. Okay, because you're already in a little bit of hot water here. So yeah, so you're asking around to hear if anybody knows what happened to Private Genopoulos. And I think what happens is that you don't find out a lot about him. Various people were like, "Oh yeah, I thought I saw him off to my right, but then there was, a grenade blew up and I lost track of him." And somebody else is like, I think I saw him, take a shot at a German, but then I had to run and lost track of him and stuff. Nobody has any really useful information about his whereabouts or fate, but the fact that you're asking around has drawn a little attention, and and I think you bump into Lieutenant McConnell, and he says in that way that you sometimes get instructions without them being official instructions. He says something about if Private Genopoulos is still out there, that would be a pretty heroic rescue mission. Would definitely win some points in my eyes for anyone who did that, especially if they had screwed up previously and had lost some points. So not telling you that he wants you to take responsibility for the rescue, but clearly hinting that if you managed that, it would get you out of the hot water that you're in. And then he just kind of proceeds on with his business.
Yeah, I'll go to Roland and just tell him tell him that the lieutenant would like us to do a rescue mission, but we don't have any idea where to even look.
I imagine that he is somewhere near the trenches that we lost.
Yeah, but
if the lieutenant's mentioning it, probably means he wants us to do it.
Yeah, but there's enough of a moon tonight that I'm not sure I don't think we can get close without being seen.
Well,
maybe one of us should try.
Yeah, I will mention you do have the scan the horizon move if you want to try to take a look at the battlefield situation.
Right.
I'll try scanning the horizon since I am our scout. Where
Okay.
did my keyboard go? So I guess I'll kind of walk towards the walls of the trench and stick my eyes slightly above.
Okay.
Let's see, what is my name?
Oh, geez.
Wait, so when we hit some, is that actually a roll? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That is for,
yeah. Here, I'll roll some dice just to prove that it isn't just
okay.
giving everyone two. There we go. See, I got 5 and 1, which is still only a 6.
We are amazing at rolling.
Okay, that's all right. It's good to get bad rolls early on because then you get, oops. Because then you get yourself in a bad situation. All right, so you rolled very bad there, and so this one doesn't specify a 6- thing, so I just get to do something to you. So let's see. So what I'm going to say is that you peek out, and there's a nice, mostly full moon tonight, and there's very little clouds, so you get a nice view of the battlefield. You get a nice view of lots of bodies laying there, from both Canadians and Germans that got killed during this battle that haven't been recovered. There's lots of craters and bombshells. You also get a good view of the machine gun nest that the Germans are setting up. And this is why they didn't continue to press onward, was because they were bringing in equipment and getting this thing set up so that it looks like they're going to have a pretty good ability to just mow down anybody that tries to advance and recapture this stretch of ground.
Okay, so Roland just like drops down immediately and is like, shit. Why is this what they're doing? And he'll look over at like Charles and be like, okay, so it's not good out there. I couldn't see Genopolis, and even if I did see Genopolis, I don't think I'd be able to tell them apart from the rest of the bodies. But there's a machine gun that they're setting up.
Yeah. And I would like to take that machine gun out.
So would I.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can, but and there is no way we're going to get that trench back while that machine gun is in position. So, I wish there weren't a moon to let moon out. This would be a lot. Well, that's probably why they made a push now. But
yeah,
maybe if we make our push now, they won't be expecting it, and we'll have a chance to, ambush them before they set up the gun. What do you think?
And I think that in terms of military tactics, charging when they can see you clearly is generally considered a bad idea. We are not going to take them by surprise. They are not going to say, oh, it would be too stupid for them to attack now because they would just get slaughtered. So we might as well take a nap.
Perhaps there's some way on the battlefield that we haven't seen yet that maybe could give us a way through that they wouldn't notice. I mean, it's bright out there, but brightness doesn't always mean visibility.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the chance of a fog or something, but
I'm going to kind of peek up and see if I can get a view as well. And I'm trying to do this move, Moment of Inspiration.
Okay.
Where when I use my creative mind to see the battlefield in a new way. So that's 2d6.
Yep. And then add your eye stat.
Oh, I forgot to add it. So that's a +2.
Yeah.
So 8, 9.
Okay, so 9 total.
Yeah. I haven't used this site before, so I'm not sure. Is a 3 and 4 my roll?
I'm sorry?
Or I'm not sure which part's my roll on here. If I'm just using it correctly or incorrectly.
Okay. Yeah, so if you just rolled that 3 and that 4, then yeah, you're a 9.
Okay.
A 9 total. Okay, so on a 7 to 9, you temporarily numb yourself to to the needs of the section. Remove 1 stress, which you don't have any stress right now. Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of info just because you didn't have stress, so the 7 to 9 option didn't really wasn't really relevant to your current situation. So I guess tell me a bit about what you were looking for, what you were hoping to see out there.
I was hoping there'd be some kind of path that maybe like the contrast of the like the light falling on there. I'm trying to use my like artistic skills to see if there's any path that would be confusing, and they would have difficulty seeing us if we went through it.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm actually going to say that because you've got that drawing of that tree, so you've spent a lot of time paying attention to vegetation. And learning a bit about it in the process of learning how to draw it. And so the battlefield between these trenches is pretty torn up. It's mostly just a sea of mud with barbed wire across it at both sides, and craters from the bombs that have gone off. But here and there are patches of different sorts of plants still kind of hanging on, didn't get totally trampled. And you recognize there's some vegetation not too far ahead from where your trench is that you recognize probably conceals a little bit of like a stream bed or a little bit of a valley. Not like a big thing, might not even be water in there all the time, but plants grow a little different around these little valleys that have streams in them sometimes. So there, you see that little bit of potential cover that's out there on the battlefield.
So I turned to everyone and tell them there's a spot up there. It looks like there may be some sort of stream that if we went down there, they might have trouble seeing us. It's just a guess from the foliage, but I think it's a pretty good guess.
Yeah, and I take a look, and I'm like, a few men might be able to make it. I mean, we'd have to move slowly, keep low to the ground. It wouldn't be fast, and getting back will be the real challenge. If they spot us, we'll either have to abandon cover, or we'll move very slowly. Either way, it's a death sentence. But if we're able to get close undetected, we just might have a chance.
Should we notify the lieutenant or other squad commanders so that they have a chance to provide backup if we need to?
I mean, after all that we've messed up, do you think the lieutenant's going to really want to approve us trying to do this?
Oh, of course he does. Anything that will get us killed would be fine with him. But I don't think we want support on this mission. And if they try to give us covering fire, that'll just draw the Germans' attention to us.
Can we have them start shooting at a different part of the German line so that the Germans' attention are drawn to that area and perhaps away from this area?
Well, maybe. The lieutenant is not very good at subtlety, but
I mean, but neither are we, though.
I think we should tell the lieutenant and see if he can give us a distraction from some other point.
And if he says no, we go anyway. And we'll take the consequences again.
And if he says no, if he orders us not to go on a suicide mission, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm staying in my bunk.
Wasn't this whole thing your idea?
Yes, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take a court martial for it.
But oh, go ahead.
You always talked about wanting to be sent away and how that's paradise. How is that consistent?
When I talk about being sent away from the trenches, I mean going away from the Germans, not toward the Germans. You understand the difference?
I mean, straight lines aren't always the best traveled paths, right? I don't know.
Anyway, if we do manage to take the machine gun, even disobeying a direct order to do so, they might take that into account in our court martial. Perhaps.
What was the name of the person who was lost on the battlefield? I mean,
So his name is Private Nikos Giannopoulos.
Nikos. Okay.
He's on the second sheet of the character keeper. Got a list of the NPCs that we've established.
I mean, during this, maybe we'll find Nikos. I mean, if we get the machine gun and find Nikos, like that's great for us.
Then we'll look for treasonous, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe we'll stumble across a lost gold mine while we're at it.
More like a lost landmine.
Too soon.
Well, I say we wait until at least one in the morning. We want as many of the Germans asleep as possible, and who knows? Maybe some fog or mist will come up that might give us the edge we need.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds acceptable.
Sounds good.
Maybe we'll leave a note in case anyone wonders where our section is gone.
Yeah, I'm so glad you find the plan acceptable, Roy.
I mean, charging into danger with no or very little hope of backup sounds exactly like what I live for.
Okay, so if you're agreeing on this plan that you're going to wait till the Germans have mostly gone to sleep and then attempt to get back out onto the battlefield, I feel like that's I'm not sure if this is exactly how this move was intended to be used, but I feel like rolling the strategize move will tell us how favorable of a situation you're encountering when you do this. So if someone would, and I'm just going to say, go ahead and just roll it flat, no modifier.
I'll roll it since I.
Right. What didn't we have a -1 modifier from the moment of inspiration move?
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. But you do have some resources and intelligence because you've kind of scoped out the situation. So I'm going to say that offsets that and keeps it at a flat roll.
Okay.
Also because we've gotten a bunch of really bad rolls and I don't want to make it any harder for you than it has to be.
I mean, it's powered by the apocalypse, right? The apocalypse.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of
So-
bad rolls, should we be marking XP for that or no?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it really matters.
Let me double check what I forget what gives you XP in this. I don't think it's a XP on a failure. Let me double check.
Yeah, the only thing I saw in the rules about marking XP is when you resolve a bond. I mean, it looks, he might have just left something out. It looks like these rules are not.
Yeah, it's super brief.
Right.
Ash can kind of. Let me see if I can find it on here. But in the meantime, let's roll that.
Okay.
So it's a 9.
Okay. Hang on. I have to scroll back and forth in this. Yeah, because it talks about when you can spend your experience, but I'm not seeing where it says where you get it. All right, let's do this roll, and we can always, because nobody's advancing yet. So, okay. So you said you got what was it?
A 9.
A 9. Okay. So on a 7 to 9, the section encounters unexpected complications. Okay, so I'm going to say that on the one hand, so you wait till 1 in the morning, and it does seem like activity, as far as you can tell from where you are, activity on the German side has calmed down. The moonlight is still pretty bright up there. Let's see a good complication for you. So you've noticed some movement on the battlefield. So there's a lot of bodies there, and not everybody that's out there is dead. There's clearly some people that have been injured too badly to crawl back to their sides, but aren't dead yet. And so you've heard a few people scream for help in both English, French, and German, and you've seen a little bit of movement out there. So you may run into someone on the battlefield itself that who's alive and is possibly hostile, though also possibly friendly, or friendly but they don't realize you're friendly and treat you in a hostile manner. Okay, so it's that time. Are we going for it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're intending to try to sneak out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everyone should go ahead and roll blend in. So let's roll and add your wit to see if you can attempt to avoid enemy detection. Or I guess you can attempt it to see if you succeed at it.
And I got a 5.
I got a 4.
Okay.
Trying to figure out if anything.
Yeah, it was 7.
7?
3.
Okay. 3. Okay.
God.
So Roy does the best out of this whole crew here. So let's see. Okay, so let me reread the description here. So on a 7 to 9, you avoid detection but are put in a difficult situation, and the other folks have it even worse. So let me take a minute to think about what's a good worst situation. Okay, so I think that the four of you sneak out of the trenches, and you're crawling your way forward, trying to not get spotted by anyone. And Roy, do you think it makes sense that you're probably last in line towards the back?
Yeah,
this
given
group?
my like history with this squad, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Yeah, so you are last in line. There's a bit of a gap opens up between you and the other three. And so the other three make it to that little bit of a, kind of intermittent stream bed that Eric spotted out there. And as soon as you get to that stream bed, you hear a voice speaking in English, but with a very heavy German accent, say, and I'm not going to try to do a German accent here because I would do it terribly. But this voice says, "Stop right there. Set your weapons down, or you're not going any farther." And if you look or turn your eyes towards where the voice came from, there are two German soldiers sitting there. They're a little bit hidden out of sight until you got into this valley, and they both have weapons pointed at you. One of them has a rifle, the other one has a pistol, but they're pointed right at you. And Roy, you were hanging back just enough that you see this happen before you get close enough for those two Germans to see you. So you are not currently being threatened, but you see that your friends are in deep shit there. So what is everyone doing? You got three people with German guns pointed right at them, very short range, and plenty of moonlight tonight for them to aim by. They're maybe 4 or 5 feet from you, like just outside of range to stab at them with something.
How far away are we from, distance-wise from where we started and from our target?
Let's see. I'm gonna say that you made it. We'll say you made it about 40 meters or so from the trench. So you're a decent bit from the trench where you started,
Mm-hmm.
and it's another. We'll say it's another 200 meters from where you are to the trench that the Germans just took over, and the spot where the machine gun nest is being set up. So both very close if you were to just walk there, and also extremely far away if you have to crawl there under threat of gunfire.
I've got the semi-automatic pistol, so that's not quite as obvious a weapon. So I think I'm actually going to try to take a shot at them.
Okay. Sounds.
I think I'm also
good.
maybe trying to mark for a shot, but from far
Okay.
away.
Okay. So let's have Charles take his shot first. So roll and add I.
That's a
And oh, sorry.
that's a 5.
That's a 5. Oh, so I will. This wouldn't do you any good on this roll, but I should have mentioned that I'm going to go ahead and give everyone one morale from working together to peel those potatoes and make your plan there. And so as I read the rules, you have to declare the morale before you roll, and you can only use one per move. So that's why it wouldn't have helped Stephen there, since he's
Can
out of 5. You have to declare it before you make the roll, but anybody can draw on that pool of morale for
Can I-
any moves you make. Okay, so you're asking, can you?
Oh, I just did math in my head. I was like, can I aid him? But then that would still be a 6, and unhelpful.
All right. Well, you know what? Because I forgot to mention the morale, I'll let us retcon this. If you successfully roll to aid him, I'll let him sort of retcon taking a morale to get it up to the 7.
Because I was gonna say maybe as he's at like the same time as he's taking the shot, I'm like making moves to tackle one of them, which would
Okay.
hopefully distract them enough to not notice that he's taking the shot.
Okay. I'll allow that. Okay.
Uh,
So
Just plus with valor.
yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, valor. Ha! That's an 11 plus valor.
11. Okay. So
have
I
enough?
will. So that adds +1, and like I said, I'll allow you to take a morale retroactively, since I forgot to say that you had those in your pool.
Okay.
So that bumps you into the 7 to 9. So your shot is on target, but choose one of the following: you're harmed in the process, your shot draws unwanted attention to another member of the section, or you find yourself in a dangerous situation and mark stress. So which of those would you like?
Right. Well, I'm definitely in a dangerous situation, but I think under the circumstances, it's most reasonable for me to take harm.
Okay. So describe to us how this goes down. How do you get this shot off, and what harm do you take from it?
Yeah, and I think right. I'm able to take the shot with my pistol, but I'm not able to aim very carefully before taking the shot, because I only have an instant, and they get off a shot right away, and one of them slams into my thigh. One of the bullets slams into my thigh,
Mm-hmm.
and then pretty soon there's gunfire everywhere. The soldiers are shooting. I'm trying to take cover. It's a firefight. This stealth mission just got not stealthy.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So mark 1 harm there, and then Roy was also going to pull the trigger from a slightly better position.
Okay. We're rolling
So-
I, right?
Yeah. So roll and add your eye.
Everything is 0 except valor, so that's easy for me.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, this is your first roll of the game.
Yeah. Why are there 4 dice here? Let's try
It's
that.
getting mixed in with the dice that had already been rolled.
Okay.
So yeah, and you can sort of off to the right, you can change the color of your dice to make them easier to distinguish from other people's.
Okay. I'll just submit them for now.
Okay.
That's a 4.
Okay, so that is a 4. Yeah, so I think what happens is you take your shot, and you are actually aiming at the same guy. So if it makes sense, I'm envisioning that the guy that was like telling you, drop your weapons, we've got you covered, was the guy that had the pistol. And so that's the guy that Charles took his shot at and hit. But that was also the guy that, Roy, that you were aiming at. And so because this guy kind of falls down when he gets hit by Charles's shot, your shot it would have hit him dead between the eyes if he had just stood still for another second. But because of Charles's shot, he falls down and your bullet whizzes past. But that alerts them to your presence. And the other guy with the rifle, is surprised enough by that shot that he spins around and aims it at you, and he says in a heavily German accented French, which you understand some of, being from Canada, is like, "Oh, another one." And he looks like he's trying to get a beat on you now. So how about Roland and Eric? What are you doing?
I think since he's just turned, I'm going to try to just tackle him to the ground and see if I can get him to not take the shot.
Okay. So let me see what move that would. I guess that's an up close and personal, using your hands as your melee weapon. So that's plus brawn,
which is a -1 for me.
Okay.
That is a. Does the modifier apply? Oh, I see. That's a 10.
Yeah, and remember that you've got the morale to draw on if you want. But I think you're supposed to declare it before you roll.
Yes, that's a 10.
That's a 10. Okay, so on a 10 plus, you strike down your enemy with a killing blow. All right, so you were going for the guy with the rifle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so you go to tackle him, and you pull him down, and you, from the kind of horrible sounds that it makes when you grab him, you realize he was extremely injured before this. There's a reason these two guys did not make their way back to the German trench. They were in real rough shape, and the fact that they were pointing guns at you had kind of obscured that fact. But neither of them could really stand up properly, and so this guy goes down, and he is clearly not getting up again. The wounds he had taken have been, the wounds he had already taken are so exacerbated by your tackle that he's clearly done. And I think his gun goes off, but just off in some random direction. And so that guy is clearly out of commission. The guy that Charles shot is kind of groaning and clutching. We'll say you hit his shoulder, and or upper chest kind of area. He's groaning and clutching at that, and kind of fumbling for his gun.
Can I try to keep him from getting to his gun? I guess I'll just.
Yeah, I think if you wanna try to manhandle him to keep him from grabbing his gun, I think that's probably up close and personal again.
Okay. And that's plus brawn, which I have none of. I'm so terrible at rolling. That's a 5.
That's a 5. Okay. So I think you're grabbing for that gun. He's grabbing for that gun. And you both get your hands on it. But he manages to get it twisted around in the right direction so that he gets off a shot at you. And so you're going to take 1 harm from that. And so he's got really labored breathing, but he's growling something about filthy Canadians at you as he's continuing to struggle. And you're also now hearing some other shouts from both your trench and from the German trench that all this gunfire has caught people's attention. And people know that something's going down on the battlefield. They don't know exactly what, but your situation has been noticed because several guns have gone off. Yeah.
I feel like we should either knock this guy out, kill this guy, or gag him and do one of the above, and then.
Yeah, I mean, he is an enemy in the war, so if you just want to, off him, that's certainly within the parameters of what happens in a war.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I'm going to disarm him and try to drag him back to our trenches, take him prisoner.
Okay. So if you would like to take him prisoner, so I think the taking him prisoner process I'll just sort of give to you because he is in a real vulnerable position now. He is badly wounded. He got off that 1 shot with his gun, but he's not fully in control of it. And I think he recognizes that at best he might be able to injure one of you a little more before he gets totally taken out. So he lets you wrench the gun away from him, and is now kind of at the mercy of the 4 of you.
What's this area like? Have we gotten into the area of cover, or are we?
Yeah, you're in an area. It's got some kind of tall grass and weeds kind of things, and a few very small bushes. Kind of through the middle of it is an area that is a little bit rockier, and there's no water in there now, but it looks like the kind of area that if you get a good rain, some water would run through here. But you've got a little bit of cover from the plants that are growing here.
I'm worried that if we try to bring him back to the trenches, then we might get out of cover. And since everyone's now noticed that what's happening, we could be under fire doing that.
I feel like if he's that injured already, we might as well just off him, minimize our risk to ourselves. I want to come back alive to our side.
I think, yeah. Just leave him here, alive or dead, and then try to make a run for the machine gun.
And so I think he hears you debating whether to kill him. And he says, no, wait. If you let me live, I'll tell you something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want. I want to take him back to our trenches for questioning, and I want to go now because the Germans are going to start shooting at us, and it's not going to take them very long before they're able to aim carefully. So I mean, I think the mission is blown. So we just need to get back to safety.
But if we go back to safety, all we have is 1 injured German guy. to show for it.
as opposed to 4 Canadian corpses.
You have so little faith in our abilities.
I mean, I'm picking the German up, and I'm heading back to the trench, heading back to our trenches.
I feel like we should like give you covering fire.
No, you should run with me.
That will be a roll of
We'll be
fall
getting
back.
right. We'll be getting
So.
covering fire from our trenches. I mean,
All right, I think I'll help you pick him up so that it's not just you carrying him.
it's right. So fallback is a wit roll. And I got an 11.
11.
So
okay.
I finally got a good roll.
You make it to safety, and I'll say that since you were in the most vulnerable position there, like carrying this injured guy, that if you can make it back, everyone else can make it back safely as well. So if you're all returning to the trenches together, then that roll will cover you all. So is that what you're doing? The whole section is retreating?
I think as soon as like Eric helped Charles pick up the German, Roland was like, well, I can't take it by myself, and like, followed them.
Okay. Yeah, so you make it back to the trenches, and there's a bunch of your fellow soldiers there, and they are on high alert because they had heard gunfire out there. So you've got sort of the usual night watch kind of contingent who would normally just be kind of keeping an eye on things, and a bunch more people that look like they have been just rousted out of their beds because something was starting to happen. And they see you coming over the top of the trench, and so the one who is closest to you, so we will call him I don't think I get a name. Call him Anthony St. Pierre. You recognize him, and he sees you coming over carrying this injured German, and he's like, "What's going on? What happened out there? Why were you out there?"
Sir, we were performing reconnaissance.
You don't have to call him sir. He's the same rank as you.
Yeah. But we were performing reconnaissance, possible sabotage mission against the machine gun, searching for Private Giannopoulos. We came across.
Did Lieutenant McConnell authorize this? He didn't tell us that anybody was going to be out there.
Not officially, sir.
He like takes a big breath and kind of shakes his head, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be there when he finds out about this, but good job. Glad you made it back," and kind of claps you on the shoulder like a friendly, supportive.
Yes, and we have a prisoner. He does speak English. He's need of medical attention. Permission to take him to the medics, sir.
Yeah. And he points you to the medical station. And so there's I think the medical station is still pretty active because there were enough people that got injured during this most recent battle that the medical staff is still working on all of them, kind of through the night, getting everybody patched up. And so, they're awake and active and have the lights on when you drag this German over.
I feel like, did anyone else get shot aside from me during this altercation?
Yeah, I mean,
Charles got injured.
I was wounded in the leg. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so you can also seek medical treatment for yourselves.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think I took any damage from my screw up, right?
No, you just drew their attention to you. But then that guy got tackled before he could actually take a shot at you.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but the two of you that got injured, you can roll a faithful through adversity move to get patched up there. But you're also going to have to, you're going to have to explain to them why you're dragging a German with you. Because, he's obviously German. He's got the uniform and everything.
Yeah, I mean, prisoner of war. I mean, that seems kind of self-explanatory.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I'm trying to think what the procedure would be that they would follow. I guess because I don't know a ton about how the military was organized, but I imagine they have some people whose specific job it is to take care of prisoners.
I imagine there are internment camps behind the front lines that he would be sent.
I mean, you wouldn't be viewed as like a casualty and just shot on sight.
Right.
Right.
We probably just want him to get.
I think. I mean, there are probably.
Yeah. Well, so actually, here's what's going to happen is, so you drag this guy in there, and the medical staff, they've taken the Hippocratic Oath. They start to, put some bandages on his injuries. He's got the shot that Charles took at him in kind of the shoulder, upper chest kind of area. His, when you get him into the decent light, you can see that his one leg is totally torn up. It looks like he stepped on a grenade or something, which is probably a big part of the reason that he was, still there on the battlefield. And they start to try to patch that up, but word has gotten to Lieutenant McConnell, and he comes storming in. He sees that you've got this German soldier there, and he kind of puts two and two together and realizes you've gone out and taken a prisoner, and he pulls out his pistol and says to the four of you, give me one good reason why we shouldn't just kill this guy right now and dump him back on the battlefield. I don't need more prisoners to deal with.
Sir, that would be a violation of the Geneva Conventions of 1906.
And he kind of stares at you, and looks around at the rest of you to see if you're standing behind this.
Besides, he may have useful military intelligence.
I say, I may not know anything about Geneva Conventions or anything like that, but there's a machine gun going up on the German side that we noticed, and if he knows anything about it, then maybe that could be good for us to get ahead of the Germans.
Do something about it. He was like, "Don't shoot me. I know something."
But he could also have just told us that so we wouldn't shoot him. I mean, honestly, I don't particularly care whether or not he lives. Should just deal with the larger problem of there being a machine gun set up.
And Lieutenant McConnell kind of sighs and he puts his gun back in his holster and he says to the medical staff, finish bandaging him, dump him in the brig. I'll deal with him in the morning. And he kind of rubs his temples, and to the four of you, he says, so the four of you are still alive, unfortunately. Is there anything else that I need to know about your little adventure here?
Sir, I can report that Private Roy Pogorzelski demonstrated valor while under fire and was instrumental in saving our lives. I recommend him for a medal.
And he looks over at you, Roy, and he says, "Is that so?"
Sure, yeah. I tried my best, sir. I have
And
steel in my spine.
he looks you up and down, and kind of pokes at you. You've still got a little bit of the like jelly on your uniform and stuff, and he kind of pokes it with his finger and sees that it's not blood, and he says, "Well, you did come back in one piece. It's more than I can say for some of our first timers. So keep up the good work." And he gives you one of the pat on the shoulder things, and then he turns around and walks off.
Great. Just out of character, I think that resolves one of my bonds. Right?
Okay.
Does it?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So it's a one shot. I'm not going to be too picky about
Okay.
that. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because you've now proved yourself to Charles. So yeah, that resolves that. Okay. Yeah. So then the other two of you, I actually won't make you, since you're in the medical tent. I won't make you roll for getting patched up there, since it doesn't, it's not actually like in question whether you're going to be able to find medical staff or whatever. So you can go ahead and recover your harm. And so just to keep an eye on the time, we got about half an hour left in our scheduled slot, and I'm gonna want to end on time because I need some sleep tonight. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to get up
But-
in the morning too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so we have a little time to continue playing, but I want to try to wrap up, a little before the end so that we can do a little bit of epilogues for all of your characters and so forth. But yeah, so you're patched up. You managed to take this German prisoner and made it safely back to the trenches. And so you're in the medical tent. They're still working on that guy because his injuries were pretty extensive. So what's your next move?
I think Roland leans against the wall and flips his knife back and forth and is just like, should have gone forward. I think. Obviously, the lieutenant doesn't value our German prisoner that much, but he would value a machine gun.
I don't think there's no way we can get that machine gun tonight. The Germans are going to be on high alert now.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe we could wait a few days and see if the alert goes away.
Yeah. And yeah, I think there's no choice. We're going to have to wait until there's clouds or fog or something to give us more cover.
Or
It
we
was
can-
just bad luck running into these Germans tonight.
I'm good with waiting.
And if we wait long enough, they'll just be right here, taking over this trench too, with the help of a machine gun. But I guess waiting is what we're best at.
All right. So what do all of you get up to while waiting for an opportunity? You know, I'm imagining probably going to sleep tonight, but next day is, more boring trench life ahead for most people.
I'm gonna try to draw a sketch of that area we found with the
Okay.
Germans. But I'm gonna draw it as if the Germans weren't there and it was like a peaceful area
Okay.
with maybe some water going through it.
It's like trying to envision what that place was before the war broke out and trenches got dug and so forth. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go talk to the German prisoner, and I'm not even asking him about military stuff. It's just we start talking. What did he do before the war broke out? And I'm talking to him as a person.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I think he is actually pretty forthcoming about things. Because even though, just last night he tried to kill you, you tried to kill him, and he seems to have some pretty low opinions of Canadians. He's probably been being interrogated in a real hostile way by some of the the other military staff. So somebody being nice to him,
and I'm actually an American, so
that's true. Yeah. So when he finds that out, you go up in his eyes a little bit, and because he's now that you've got the light of day to see him in, he is a pretty young guy. He was kind of, and he tells you that he was in his first year at university in, we'll say, Frankfurt, and the war broke out, and he felt like it was his patriotic duty to sign up. So he's pretty young, and we'll give him a name. We'll call him Ulrich. But yeah, and so if you ask him that, he'll tell you about the little hometown that he comes from, and his family and other kinds of small talk stuff. So while Charles is sweet talking your German prisoner, how about the rest of you? You up to anything in particular?
I think I was going to see if I could talk Roy into going into a patrol of just around the trench with me, occasionally peeking our eyes up above the trench, I guess.
Okay.
Be and then as we're doing that, I could maybe have a conversation, just be like, so new person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are we trying to look for anything when we look up, or are we just kicking a stone down the trench or something like that?
I think Roland is wants to feel like he's doing something instead of just waiting.
Okay.
Okay. So did you want to roll to scan the horizon then?
Yeah, sure.
Potentially collect some information?
We all know how well these rolls go.
Roll
Oh, hey,
that on.
that's an 11.
Okay.
Plus, what is this, I? Or
Yeah.
that's like a 13. Which is
Okay. So you can. So why don't you kind of role play out the conversation you're having with Roy, and at any point, just ask me a question about what you see on the battlefield when you peek out at it in the middle of your conversation.
Okay. So I think I would have like walked up to you and like if you weren't particularly doing anything like peeling potatoes, just be like, let's take a walk. And then led us toward like the wall of the trench or sandbags or whatever. And just been like, how are you doing?
I've been better, but like, it just seems like endless days of potatoes and latrines for me, being the lowest on the totem pole here.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. But you took a shot last night, yesterday.
Yeah, I was feeling it. That's what you always see in the movies, right? Like, someone comes up and steps up to be the hero. I kind of wanted to be that.
We all start out wanting that, but I don't know. All the heroes I've seen die quite quickly.
Well, I've made it a week so far, so maybe I'll make it another week too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's any better, actually.
Yeah, now that you say it, me too.
But hey, the lieutenant seems to have his eye on you. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but I don't know. Distinguish yourself in front of him and Charles, and maybe you won't get stuck here forever.
Yeah, maybe we can go home or something. I really want to look over the trench, whatever the trench wall is called. I really am totally not war literate at all.
I don't remember what it's called either.
Yeah. Hopefully the final version of the book will have just like a diagram of a trench and what all the parts are called.
Yeah.
Different kinds of trenches. I was trying to look them up before the game, but
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about them now.
But
I think as we're like talking, we maybe are just like scooching along the wall and looking out. So what question do I have about the battlefield? Do we see any movement on the other side?
So on the all the way over at the German trench.
Yeah.
I think that things actually look pretty quiet over there. It looks like they've got the machine gun set up now, and so they've just kind of settled down to wait for the next opportunity to, lead a charge over the top and, try to take the next trench or whatever. But there doesn't seem to be any big activity or anything unusual being planned over there.
Okay. And I guess, okay, Roy, it's too quiet around here.
I know. Maybe we should sing a song or something.
Is it daylight right now?
Yeah, it's the next day.
Fine. You can sing. I will.
Yeah, I'm not singing. It's okay.
You can describe what you sing. You don't have to actually perform it.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Is it like Christmas time or something? I was thinking like Silent Night or something, because there's that song "Christmas in the Trenches."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll say it's close enough to Christmas time, since we haven't established the time of year. It's close enough that you could sing that and it would be appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, I just sing a verse or two.
And I think Roland will just like lean back and listen / watch.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to suggest, I guess, but yeah.
It's a nice gesture. Weirdly calming.
Okay, and what's Eric up to during this this time?
I think as they're singing, I'm kind of finishing up the drawing. And there's a special move here. There's the producer work of art move.
Okay.
C plus wit. Okay. Oh no, I mixed in. I think that's a 3 though, so not great.
A 3 total.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you're trying to draw what this place might have looked like before the war and trying to connect with that. But you can't do it. You can't envision clearly enough to draw it. You can't envision what this place would have looked like without trenches and bomb craters and mud, all stirred up from the boots of soldiers running back and forth across it, and debris from bullet shells and stuff. And I think you take 1 stress from that, from the realization that you can't set aside the war even in your art.
Yeah, I think the artwork. I'm almost disturbed by what I've drawn, and I think it does say on a 6 minus your section marked stress. So I think I kind of show it around everyone to see if they feel the same way about it, or if so.
Okay. All right, so we have a little bit of time left in our session. Is there something big anyone wants to try before we have to say goodbye to these characters?
It depends on the weather conditions.
Okay. What weather conditions would you like for there to be? I'll give you the weather that you want, since we're nearly at the end here.
Foggy.
Foggy?
Dark.
All right.
Clouds everywhere.
All right. Yeah. All right. So the next night, that night that you just had was, bright and clear, but some sort of nasty weather system is rolling in. The weather gets a little gross towards the end of the day, and the night is real dark. There's fog. There is lots of clouds. There's barely any moonlight getting through. So what would you like to do on this foggy night?
I look over at Charles, and go, conditions are optimal.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, let's give this another shot. And like I'm gathering up some supplies to like blow up this machine gun nest.
I feel like we should maybe, I don't know, convince more of the unit to go with us this time.
Yeah.
So we're not just all on our own and have to turn back the moment we hit the Nazis. Or no, wrong. Or the Germans. So maybe as Charles is like gathering stuff, it can go to the lieutenant and be like, basically the objective of the conversation would be, hey, seems like a good time to try and take back the trench and also gain a machine gun. Can you authorize this and maybe send us out with more people than just the 4 of us?
Yeah, and I think that he has, he's gotten some intel from this guy that you captured, and has decided, on that basis, he's come up with a plan for the whole company, or whatever the name for the larger unit is going to make an attack. And a foggy night like this is a good one to catch the Germans by surprise, since they know from Ulrich's things that he has said where you need to concentrate your forces to break through and capture the machine gun nest. So I'm thinking to kind of wrap this up, since we've got 15 minutes left in our slot. Why don't we do this? Why don't we have each of you make a roll for how this attack goes down for you. So rather than we'll get away from the specific moves there, and just have you roll 2d6 and add whichever stat you think reflects the approach that you're going to take to succeeding as part of this attack that's going to happen. And then we'll just have each of you kind of narrate a little bit about your overall outcome from this attack. So if your total that you get is 10 and up, describe something real good happening. If it's 7 and 9, your success comes with some sort of a cost or a big downside to it, or is partial. And if you get a 6 or less, then tell us what bad thing happens to you. Does that sound good?
Sure. Okay, and I'll roll with Valor. So that's,
okay.
And that's a 9. So I think I'm making my way through the fog. It's overcast. Visibility is terrible. There's sort of this misty rain, and we're all getting soaked to the skin. And like every once in a while, there's this flare as the Germans shoot up some rocket to illuminate the no man's land, and we all freeze. And we get close to the machine gun nest, and I've improvised this big charge out of explosives, and we're literally digging underneath the right next to the German positions to plant this huge mine that I've made and that we've dragged across. And it's like we've got it set up, but one of us is going to have to stay behind to light the fuse, because just with all this mist and this moisture, we can't rely on it to stay lit for very long. So I volunteer to hold back and light the fuse, and I do it. And I get away, but I'm still very close to the explosion when it goes off, and I'm sort of tossed through. I'm tossed through the air, and I think the rest of the unit grabs me and gets me back to the front line. But that's my last action of the war. I'm badly hurt enough that I'm shipped back home.
Okay, sounds good. And Roy, how does this last battle go for you?
So I'm trying to make a decision with what I rolled with because there's a 9 on the table, and I could bump it up to a 10 with my 1 stat and valor, but that seems too easy. So I think I'm going to leave it a 9 and roll
Okay.
with wit.
All
Maybe
right.
I'm gaming a little bit, but last action.
All right.
And so yeah, I think I participate in the final charge on this foggy night, and I witness Charles's brave action of staying behind, and I see him get hurt, and I I physically get through the fight okay, but mentally I don't, because seeing someone hurt is like new to me, and it kind of like takes the fresh facedness a little bit out of my character's demeanor. And so I think I make it through the war okay, but I'm gonna leave my epilogue kind of like years in the future where I'm, I still imagine Charles, and, Charles sticking up for me, and that I see him get hurt. And so I have to live with the repercussions of that in a civilian society.
Okay, sounds good. And how about Roland?
All right, Roland as our scout. I think I'll have whatever this roll be. Roll with I. It's a good thing because it's a 7 + 2 is 9.
right.
So I think Roland is probably one of the first people out of the trenches, and I think, his main job is to try and winnow down the people who were kind of at the machine gun. So he was sticking to the shadows and doing his best to just take shots with his rifle from a distance, so he wasn't getting super close to the actual where they were set up in the trenches. But I think that as he's going through like the almost mechanical like job of like, okay, this person's trying to hit someone on my side, I'll take care of them, and then this other person, he like going one by one. Like he gets so focused and so drawn into this that he doesn't realize that he himself is becoming a target for German snipers. So he, as he's trying to protect Charles, as Charles is staying behind to like pull the to light the fuse, I think he just suddenly feels like this burning pain in his like shoulder and realizes that he wasn't paying attention to what was around him, and he ends up getting shot. And I don't know if he makes it off the field. I think that he probably in the shadows, kind of hidden in this like cloudy day, just like sinks to the ground, and he'll be left to the viewer to determine whether or not he makes it off.
Okay. Sounds good. And Eric, how do you fare?
So I think with like the failed stealth mission and the art going really badly, I'm kind of discouraged by artistic endeavors and decide that I just want to go in guns blazing and kind of just see if I can make a difference. So I'm rolling with Brawn. And that's a 2.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, I think Eric just runs in, not paying attention, and kind of while the rest of the team is going more carefully and trying to like get up to plant the bomb, Eric just runs straight up, trying to fire right at the machine gun, and it just takes him out, and yeah, I guess I don't really know what else to say. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was Ross Rifles. Thank you all for playing, and I will say, since there's one bit of backstory that didn't get followed up on. Private Genopoulos was taken prisoner by the Germans, and if you had asked the right questions of Ulrich, you might have been able to figure out where they had him. But just did not leave that mystery hanging. So I'm going to end the broadcast.
Thank you.
Here. Thank you, anybody watching this.